just these small things, these small differences can make all the difference here in PUBG Mobile. But let's get to it once again. It is our technically penultimate. The previous one wasn't. Sandhawk to get it going.
That was a lie.
That was a lie. I told a fib. I'm sorry.
We go again here. Gladiators moving down towards that northwest island. Again, this is no longer as fair of a playing path, especially down towards Sami, so Enigma Galaxy has a little longer to actually head out towards that location, which means they can't start getting those stronger positions up towards that northern side faster. We do see them a lot of times looting up quite frequently, but this time it's a 4-man drop over towards Hatin, and this is what I talked about beforehand, that they wanted maybe to send a player out over towards that western side, which is a stronger position to hold, gives you more time to get that position on the outside, but there is a hot drop over towards Geeky. They're having...
No way.
This is horrible. Geeky's like, this is our one match where maybe we can have a little bit of respite from ourselves, but Excuse is here to change the day.
AK is in hand as well, some DBSs. Going to have to be careful here. Excuse me, could quite easily put the pressure on against Haith. What will actually go down? Ragnar's trying to hold the angle up at the top here, but it's not going to be successful. They spotted him quickly, and that was important. Otherwise, they would have tried to make the cross.
Again, Geeky probably has the most experience out of any team. That is a really crazy shift coming through on the circle up towards the northwest side. But Fury actually finding that off angle coming through, taking the time whilst the team underneath holds those angles. Really smart. Very much taking time to their own advantage.
I actually find this very interesting. There's Gaith will now once again try and go for some shots. Does actually get the knock already. He's holding the high ground. It's actually one of the positions of strength here because you need to go all the way over to another building to try and get an angle on it. But he's dropped down now to try and go for this.
Havlik is so lucky, but only for so long as Hope puts a stop to that. Now Furia tries to hold an angle, denying Hope's position off there, but Hive will look immediately upstairs, get that shot through. And I think with the amount of experience and practice GK have had in these type of situations, it was sort of a matter of time. But I really did like how Excuse Me played out that engagement. But again, 2 players only for Geeky is a really big deal here on Sandhawk. We see the majority of those wins come through on Sandhawk as just being that last team that has 4 players still alive and has managed their third parties well into the end game.
It's crippling, unfortunately, there for DK, and they'll try and play it out. But thankfully for them, the circle's not too horrendous, even though you're boot camp, and when you're in boot camp, you're almost always going to be in the circle to start things off on Sandhawk. But here's Enigma Galaxy once again taking a fight. Freak got caught out a little bit thanks to the drive-by that's coming along. GQ were able to shut him down completely, and the rest of Enigma Galaxy, nowhere to be seen.
That is quite an instantaneous shutdown. It's a little bit curious that Freak wasn't actually playing in the Watchtower because I think you can quite easily play in there and just lay prone down. I don't think there's a lot of times in this situation with this rotate that you would stop off to check that thoroughly. And even if it did happen, you could throw a nade. You have time to set up for the rest of the team to get towards you. So I think for Enigma Galaxy there, I maybe think that Freak was just taking a little bit too long to set himself up.
That's the thing. It's a symptom of the playing path when you see this come down. Like, both these teams had to drop far and then try and rotate a little further. And when that happens, you're not as spread out as you normally would be. You wouldn't have the easier time of being able to get your loot and then support each other. But at the same time, it's Nexus going up against Fireflux. In the distance, reinforcements are so far away, and that will be a freebie here for Fireflux.
That's almost a double coming through for Doran. Probably furious with the rest of the team right now on Nexus. I think that's the second time we've seen it as well. I mean, Freak was like, where's the rest of my team? Now Doran performing really, really well. Didn't have the support from the rest of the squad. But this is a very quick push coming through from Regnum Kaya as well, over towards that north side. They did take a split, did Nexus, between the north compounds and then one player down towards the south. But with a circle shift like this, you're sort of expecting a lot of teams to try and get control over Northwest Bridge very quickly. But again, we talked about this. It's a very central lobby. So this doesn't surprise me that we're seeing teams instant rotate this compound on the southwest because it can be very strong in terms of sightlines.
Yeah, as we're just watching the replays of what was going down in boot camp as well. And again, I said it the same phrase, and I'm going to say it again. It's a symptom of the playing path. Looking at how this has played out, teams were kind of a little bit closer. The circle was friendly to them in this regard. So we've seen actually a few more fights than you normally would at the start of a Sandhawk. But Brute Force cresting the hill here, looking for Fireflux.
Taking a little bit of a view over the top side. I think for Fireflux in this position, it is actually quite difficult to get outside of. Realistically, one of these players would have to take an off angle, but with the vehicle burning and smoking, likely to explode at any second, and we know that Fireflux is susceptible to the 4-man vehicle explosion. We've seen it before. It's going to be really difficult for them to find that flanker because you just need someone to hold an angle to bait a shot coming through.
Yeah, sometimes when you're in Fireflux's position, you're saying, okay, we're in the circle, so it doesn't really matter too much. We can stay here and just wait for another team to have an angle on Brute Force. That's why Brute Force is sticking mostly to the north side of that ridge, because it actually denies some lines of sight. For example, if Vision were able to go for a little rotate north of Tatmok or something like that. So I understand what both teams are doing at the moment. They'll bide their time for a while and have that stalemate occur for a little bit.
Yeah, so realistically, not much is going to happen on that side. For Temuerte, I think they're also happy that not much is going on their side too. 4 players still alive here is a massive boon to Temuerte when it did look a little bit risque, let's say, with Tixi actually turning around up towards Tapok's position on the first time we tried to play Sandhawk, which was unsuccessful. But this is our successful run coming through. And very successful for one of these teams if they take home a lot of points here, which is certainly doable with the positions around the map. And we've got a lot of water in this. This could shift up towards Tatmok. If you're one of the teams in Tatmok, that's one of the few positions around on this map where you can really blast out your mind, pick yourself up a lot of eliminations. It's very easy to control that space if teams are struggling to get in.
More loot for Mad Bulls on the way here from Ruins. And yeah, I mean, as you say, like with the people positioning up towards the top, technically you would like to be near the river just so you can make a transition, right? If the circle goes northwest, great, you can go to the island. If the circle goes northeast, great, you can try and make a transition. So already, actually, Tapok's swimming across by the looks of things, or has slightly positioned himself on that coast to try and facilitate that kind of move if needs be. But there are a lot of teams still in the south, still chilling out, nowhere near the circle. They're just waiting to see if they have to go west or east, I think. Making that choice is very important.
It is funny, right? Because it's such an intense circle shift.
Yeah.
But because of that, it's forced basically a pause on the game at this point in time. Yeah, a lot of teams just really don't want to make too many drastic decisions at this point. We've got Nexruya, Nexus, Regnum Kaya, all in the same spot. But neither of these teams wants to go for an engagement because what's the point if one of these next circles heads over towards the western side? Not very likely at this point in time, but at some point, these 3 teams will have to go at it. And a third party is going to be on the cards for at least one of them. Probably.
And there's a lot of good compounds left available in this circle. I'm already seeing Falcons moving to what I would consider one of the pivotal compounds. I think they've actually driven past it. So they're going, trying to go even more central, but that's going to cause a conflict quite quickly, I think. We're looking there. You can see in the kill feed already, they're gearing up those DVSs to try and get on in. A big push onto Nexruya. If they can dislodge them from this location, it is technically, right now, could be a winning location, but Molly's all over the place. They spread on this floor, and he is caught. He's going to go down.
Doka Machine starting the Sandhawk barbecue here as the Falcons just go up in smoke, the feathers charring away. That is real depressing news for them. On the wooden floor, the double Molotov is absolutely disgusting. And you have to crash onto just one of these buildings. And I think Nexruya took a really good position here to hold them down.
It was a strong defense. And I'm going to be honest with Falcons, it's a very reckless send here. I don't think they had information on this whatsoever.
There are options.
They're gone. They could have stopped on the compound east of this. About 300 meters in terms of distance. So, because I mean, you went past there, you heard no shots. Probably going to be, a bit too reckless for my money.
Yeah, it's a great spot as well, that compound that you highlighted, because if this circle does move away from Tatmok, it is one of those winning positions, Kalaris, just because you have great sightlines into Tatmok, and it's quite difficult to push down the slope towards that compound as well. So it is curious that we would see Falcons just go for what I would probably call an insane push across the map over towards Nexruya.
I think my wording was a little more friendly. Insane.
I mean, we've had troubles with Falcons in the past. It's like, why are you guys not taking the opportunity to push? Why are you guys not going for that instantaneous regroup where there's an opportunity there available to you? I didn't mean this.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't mind the bold plays. I don't mind you sending like that to try and go for what you think is a winning compound at that point. But there's a lot more, and there's a lot more shift coming that could have been available here for them. But meanwhile, lots of shots raining down here over in the distance. Kitsune is just trying to deal with Demuerte. I mean, usually when you have a circle like these two teams are bound to come to blows here. Yeah. And Gladiators is doing all right.
Yeah, I think that is kind of the difference between the way these teams are playing these circles, which is more towards that center focus, especially here on Sandhawk, where you really just want to pick up one of these compounds in one of the most heavily peppered areas of the map of these buildings, right? So I think for Gladiators, they've just moved instantly in. Usually they would hang fire over towards Hatim for a while, towards these compounds, try and get some sightlines across towards some of these eastern compounds. This time they just moved straight across. And Fireflux, because of this, are suffering massively. Like you said earlier on, they wanted to just carry on this stalemate between them and Brute Force. However, they are being pinched very hard.
Mad Balls has taken the compound that we were mentioning that Falcons could have taken, so we'll keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, rotating in all the way from Miramar is Gangsters on that east side. Do you reckon they'll ever join the fray?
Yeah, I do kind of like it. It's like they like to play 5D chess, as you say. All I had to do was move Jafar from the future in Miramar back to here, and then he moved round, got a checkmate over towards Mad Balls, took their compound, and won the game. But yeah, they are playing in a completely different universe sometimes.
They really are. Yeah. They are in another galaxy.
It's working sometimes.
It is working sometimes. And speaking of galaxy, Nigma Galaxy is still all the way south of Painan. They can actually just come in straight from the south of this circle and probably totally fine. Mad Balls, though, was in a little bit of a scrap. So is Vision here against Regnum Karya, trying to deal with the damage that's coming on. And Grenade's already charged up, so Molly's already coming along as well. They've got a lot of value here on Sandhawk. Tries to throw it through. Not going to be successful on that, though. Coming around the corner with the S12K to try and deal with that, though. What a nice peek coming in from Loxy. That is beautiful stuff with this extremely powerful gun.
Yeah, just taking the situation into their own hands here. Mad Balls, though, identifies the engagements going on, but it was a pretty clean engagement here for Regnum Karya. Their trouble right now is that they're on the eastern edge of these really strong positions of the map, so they're going to be first to face a lot of times. Nexus are afforded a different position by this because they're towards the western side, completely protected by Regnum Karya. They'll always have to be crashed upon first before any team can really get to them, unless Gladiators can kind of shimmy their way down on this coastal side and maybe take that engagement. But even then, there are still a lot of sightlines looking at that.
The thing is that I highlighted it in previous Sandhawks, and I'm going to say it again. For Gladiators, as we see fights going off between Demuerte, etc., up at the north, the Gladiators are always playing edge on Sandhawk, unless it's a Northwest Island. So they have to figure this out, because it's not been successful in the previous Sandhawks, and at this pace, I don't think it's going to be successful here.
Yeah, it's a lobby change, right? This is not a case of edge doesn't work. It's just that edge doesn't work here.
They've sniffed out this fight up at the top.
I mean, if they can clear space here, this is what we're talking about with a lot of these teams towards the middle of this circle. If they're not clearing space because there are no teams to clear space from, then they don't get any opportunity or initiative on the circle, but they're doing massively well here versus Demuerte, taking down a lot of the players here. There's only 2 remaining from Fireflux, only a couple from Brute Force, but they've already moved through. So if Gladiators can clean things up now, they will have a massive amount of space on this northwest edge.
This is how you've got to play third-party Sandhawk, sweeping on the edge if you're going to play this edge style. Gladiators identified this super fast, was able to get in there and get themselves 3 knocks to their name. I don't know if they got any of the finishes just yet. However, this fight for Fireflux and Demuerte has completely landslided out of their control because Gladiators is trying to hold them out. Brute Force, though, is also sniffing this out. They're on the other side towards the east. They could also effectively fourth party.
Yeah, with just 2 players there, but it looks like one of the players from Gladiators did spot them out immediately, so Pre-Pod's not able to go. So it's good that Gladiators are watching their back here, and it's really necessary. The guys from Fireflux will find it difficult to move in, but medical supplies for Gladiators at the moment are really lacking, honestly. Tixie will be tossing those smokes out. But again, you said that getting this play in was very important, but it's one of the few times where they've been able to sniff out that third party in the first place, so they were hungry for it, they moved on it, but I just don't think this is happening a lot of of times this is just purely because we got the brute force and the Fireflux stalemate that this was allowed to happen, with Demuerte also moving in there. And I think it's benefited Gladiators in a big way, but they've overcommitted now. They've lost one player to this engagement. Beku, I think, was a little bit too far in.
The second rule of third-party edge play Sanhok coming in with not many meds is you don't talk about Sanhok. You actually finish those fights fast. You need to finish them fast. And if you don't, you're going to get fourth-partied, like we just saw there. Yes, you lose Meku. Technically, they're still okay, though. They can move south here to get themselves a compound, but there are lines of sights here that are kind of against them. But there you go. Brute Force has gone down. That is, Gladiator is taking them out. Maybe they can start a bit more of a campaign, a bit of a push here, because over the last 2 days, it's just not the Gladiators we're used to.
Not at all. And it's certainly possible with 3 players here on Sanhok, not likely to be a huge win or anything, but I still think with the way that the circle is lining up at the moment, there are several areas around the map where you can take a pretty cheeky off angle, pretty cheeky position, just try and get yourself some more points for this game. In the meantime, Gangsters have moved up through Paris Resort, looking over towards Road to Glory, which seems to be a team they come in contact with quite frequently. This is a really tough position to push out from, is Paris Resort over towards that western side. I think it's very likely that we'll see Mad Bulls take shots towards both these teams, whether even both these teams make it out, because that's a nice nade to start things off.
Ooh, 6-time spray. That's a bit ambitious here from Kalagat, as he will charge up the nade once again, trying to dislodge Gangsters and all of this. Again, it's a case of you really want to finish this fight fast so that you can start moving towards the west. Holding each other in Paradise Resort is just going to mean collateral damage all over the place, and neither of you is going to be able to do well in this game.
Yeah, so far, though, some excellent grenades coming through from Road to Glory. Rio, who's been a massive standout for the team, obviously starting off very strong here. These players out in the open, Kevin, unfortunately.
Oi! He relocated just at the right second, and Groza was not able to respond. Walsh looking for an angle himself. Likewise, Kevin's just behind all of this. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Nexus was actually knocking Fireflux. And the Fireflux has gone down. It's a big E shift here, which is actually going to favor whoever may come out of this situation.
Oh, Falcons, you could have had it all, but not to be. With Mad Bulls now in that spot holding on. And I think the longer these two teams are taking these engagements, the longer Mad Bulls has time to identify this engagement's going on and look over towards this position. Again, another nice grenade over the top from Groza to finish off the team. And you can start to see Mad Bulls actually moving out towards this location, with Zerich starting to place himself out in the grass to look towards them. I mean, I don't think they're too worried about these teams on the western side at the moment, because they're more than likely to be taking shots at each other. You mentioned earlier about Nigma Galaxy, how they could quite easily make their way through Painan, and I was thinking they'd make their way through over the coastal side on the west of Bootcamp. That's exactly what they've done. Yes, they're going to have to play this game a little bit more carefully than other teams in lobby that already have position, but we know Nigma Galaxy is a strong team and can pull something off like this.
I thought maybe they would try and hit the GQ compound, which technically in this circle still has quite a bit of power itself. They position Corker up on the high ground east of it to try and... it's the one vulnerability, is the slight high ground above that compound that GQ has. But so they're still doing okay for themselves. But yeah, I mean, as you say, with Nigma Galaxy only having 3 alive, they've still got to play this a bit cautiously, so I do get why the coast is the play.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to go for. This is weird from Nexus, and we've seen this in the past from several teams that play this compound on the western side, and it's just an inability to get away from it. It's like there's a calling to this compound where you just cannot leave. And I think Nexus has had one of her stronger positions for a while, but they have to move at some point. It's a great smoke train coming out from Nigma Galaxy, but at this point in time, it is so difficult to leave from here. Regdom Kai has got them in their sights, and this team has been absolutely pumping.
This compound has a lot of power, as Ezel, once again, is going to be looking across here. He was one to watch, going up against another one to watch in previous days. It's Coops in the distance. Ezel's just going to hold him dead to rights here.
That's unfortunate.
Technically, it's a great circle for Coops, and GQ's also flexing out, but Ezel in this compound, he's just going to be holding him here for a long, long time.
It's so sad that Enigma Galaxy set up this smoke train to leave a position that actually was technically still playable.
I mean, if you're going to have one left alive, I would go with Coops.
Yeah, I would go with Coops as well. I think this guy can hold on. And, you know, we praised him for being able to get those top 5 finishes. And I think if anyone can do it, it is Coops. I want to see him go all the way here. 0 eliminations so far.
Oh,
wow.
That is the road to glory. Let's do it all the way through the sky. That's quite the crash forwards here for them. GQ scrambling. They don't know what to do with this. It's not exactly the most conventional approach, as the DBS is in hand now, and they've taken this away, but GQ's wrapping around for the fight. That was wild.
That was very wild. Toffees, though, like you said, went for a wide wrap here over towards a rock in the distance that allows them to take shots at Road to Glory as they move into the circle. It's a really important wrap from him as well, because if they don't go for that, you know, GQ could have just been completely left in the dust by this wild play coming through from Road to Glory.
Mad Bull still has some angles here against next through you. Is going to try and transition forwards. Likewise, so is Mad Bulls, but they have some rocks to work with. They need to make sure that they take this fight strong against GQ, because otherwise GQ is going to hold them out completely.
Mad Bulls, I must realize that they need to maintain pressure over this eastern side. It's one of the positions they've had the most control over, or could have been at least the most amount of control they could have had.
Tries to go for it. Not going to be careful. Not going to be careful at all here. Just going to be charging up the nades now, trying to dislodge Evo Station, who had the angle on him. That's not bad. Ooh,
nice.
That was very fortunate for Evo Station. Very fortunate.
Porker moves up behind the tree now. BK tries to take these shots quickly over towards Evo Station. Nice. What a shot that's coming out from him. And immediately there's a response coming through from the rest of the team. It's looking dire for Mad Bulls, but they're bringing it back. But with that knock over towards Frozen, it's looking bad.
It's not bad, not too bad. There's a MG3 in the play, but Evo Station is down. He can't really make use of it at all. Mad Bull's going to move forward. I wonder how much of this Regnum Carrier's sniffed out, because they're heading in this direction here to try and control the rest of this circle. They know they have to get involved to try and lock this down.
Regnum Carrier is just so good at timing. A lot of times it's something they do really, really well. And they instantly finished up with that fight with Nextria on their northern side, and then immediately transitioned to over this. This is very, very good from Regnum Carrier. And again, we've praised their timing in the past. I'll praise it again here.
We saw it on Erangel. It looked great. Checkpoint to checkpoint gaming, and it was looking very nice. Loxley going to try and throw a nade forwards. Groza in a bit of the firing line at the moment, and actually they will get taken down. It's Mad Bulls from the distance shutting down GQ. GQ doesn't have a leg to stand on. Oh, he's going to burn!
This is the second time Regnum Carrier's pulled out the old barbecue. This is horrible stuff here. And now Mad Bulls down to 3 players, 3v3 with Enigma Galaxy still in here, getting towards a top 4.
Coops and Groza as solos here could cause a lot of problems. Mad Bulls is trying to hold a line strong here against Regnum Carrier. Lox is going for some jump peaks here to get some information wherever he can. He just goes for that, tries to take some wild shots through this smoke. But Regnum Carrier has got a good spot, but so does Mad Bulls. It's close, man.
It is really close. Double stun grenade over the top here. Coops. In comes Coops over towards Tron. Mad Bulls have to engage on this to the point. They have to get in on the confusion, the chaos. But if he can take down 3, that'll be the most unbelievable play coming from Coops. But that might have just stolen it for Mad Bulls.
Of course it was going to be Lox. He's done 1,158 damage already in this game. That's pretty much unheard of when it comes to Sandhawk. Now, though, they need to deal with Tron. They're not getting him up. They're going to have to deal with this alone. DBS out in hand, going around the right-hand corner against Fleek here, trying to hit him. Wild with a great shot here to deal with that 2v2, but Groza still in the back lines.
He's right behind them. I mean, they're one player that dealt with Regnum Carrier and really gave them a nasty blow there, but now Groza could be the one to do it. I think he has some decent sight lines, at least, over towards both of them.
No way.
Take them both down. Going down goes Tulika, now just Frozen. Can he find him? No, he won't.
He might say, they literally saved Groza, but they know where he is. They're just going to spray through the grass, and that's going to be it. Regnum Carrier able to take the first game of the day here on Sandhawk. And you know what? What a belter of a Sandhawk, actually, to watch these teams be able to transition from the compound to compound. Some of these fights towards the end, the snakes still populating the circle at the end